The horrors were sending over quick, cross-grained glances at the red coat, poising themselves in a little silent bunch beside the beer pools, while the bartender busied himself cleaning glasses and laying them on the counter before him. Archie saw the black looks of the hurlers, and he was nervous. Seán saw too the looks, and saw that Archie's hand holding his glass was trembling a little. Saw him bending his head over towards Tom to whisper, "They're having a good go at us," he whispered. "Eh, who?" asked Tom, for he was too full of himself to take notice of half-hidden scowls. "The boy with the hurleys." "Oh," said Tom, sending a swift glance to where the hurlers were. "Them, is it? Bog trotters. Never seen anything higher than a haystack. Hayfoot, strawfoot, fusiliers. Let them look their full at one of the old toughs." He lifted his glass level with his chin. "Where it goes," he said, and gurgled down more than the half of his pint, leaving his fine moustache gleaming with a frothy dew. As he was wiping it off with his handkerchief, the door of the pub opened, and in walked Mick, his pillbox soldier's cap set rakishly on the side of his head, looking like one of God's own guards in a superb crimson tunic, with its velvet blue-purple cuffs and collars piped with yellow cord, skin-tight trousers slashed with a wide scarlet stripe from either leg, and caught under his polished boots with leathern straps, while silver spurs jingled at either heel. Tom looked at him as if he had seen an apparition. "Jesus," he ejaculated, "I thought you were settled down on the Cross Guns." "Couldn't stick the company," said Mick, "so here I am. Drink up, boys, and have another." And turning to the bartender added, "Same again here, mate." The room wasn't large, and the counter wasn't long, so there was little more than a hair's breadth between the red-coated elbow of Tom and the green-jerseyed elbow of a hurler. Red and green, thought the young Seán, are the colours of old Ireland. And an old ballad sung by a one-eyed man mouching along a street came into his mind. "Green is the flag, and green are the fields of our soiled land, while the blood our sons have shed has tinged the green with red. That's why red and green are the colours of our Ireland." Whenever a movement brought the red-coated elbow of the soldier into touch with the green-jerseyed elbow of the hurler, the green-coloured one would give the red-coloured one a violent shove away with it. But beyond a wondering backward glance, Tom took no notice. "Here's to the time," said a hurler suddenly in a loud voice, raising his glass above his head, "when there won't be an English soldier seen in our land from one end of it to the other." The other hurlers clinked their glasses against his to honour the toast. The door opened in the silence that followed the toast, showing two tall Irish constabulary men standing on the threshold with their martial coats around them, the dusky bronze harp with a crown over it, sleepy-looking in his oval bed of green cloth stuck in front of their round black caps, set to the side of their heads, a chin strap keeping the caps to their perky angle, and their glossy black belts with buttons hanging from them, their heavy top coats fenced into two long, neat folds stretching all the way down their backs. After dawdling at the door for a few moments, the two constables sidled up to the counter, Tom and his party shoving up closer to their end of the counter, the hurlers moving closer up to theirs, so that the policeman had a little space between the backs of the soldiers on the left and the backs of the hurlers on the right. "2 Guinnesses," said one of the policemen, apologetically, for he knew that the bartender and the hurlers knew they were supposed to be out patrolling the road instead of being where they were now. The bartender, all attention to these gods of the Irish countryside, hurried the bottles of stout to the policeman, who moved closer to Tom and his comrades, who moved further away when they felt the touch of the policeman. Quarles and Mick couldn't let well enough alone, couldn't let the silence sing the song of peace. "If you ask Mick," he said, "when the redcoats were driven out of Ireland when Parnell was high and mighty, they'll hardly do it today, now he's down among the dead men." Then Tom had to go on better. He was always weak enough to want to follow where Mick led. Who was it threw the great Parnell to the English wolves? He asked in a voice meant for the hard of hearing. Was it the English redcoats who done it? "A home and a coffin and a graveyard garden in Glasnevin. That's what Ireland gave him," said Mick. "And I'll go bail," said Tom, taking down the beer in great gulps, "that there were more than a few hurlers' hands helping to pack him into his coffin." A hurler wheeled around on him, his face tense, his eyes blazing. "No hurler's hand here helped him into his coffin," he shouted, his face flaming in the gap between the two black-coated policemen. "The Irish always destroy their best men," said Mink. "Here now," said the bartender, shoving his gob over the counter towards Tom, "there's to be no fighting here. This is a respectable house, fully approved of by the magistrates and the parish priest." "Now, boys, no," murmured one of the policemen. "What? Talk it over easy. This is a free country where everybody has a right to his own opinion." "Look at Swift McNeil," said Tom, now excited but keeping his back to the hurlers. "Wasn't it him who said at a Dublin meeting, 'God forbid that the man who led us through darkness and difficulty should be deserted by his comrades'? And him the first to vote for the betrayal of his leader to the English." "And him a Dublin man too," said Mick. "Dublin went a hoarding when she bred the bastard who betrayed Parnell." "Easy, easy," murmured the other constable. The bartender again leaned his gob over the counter, gently shoving a constable a little aside with his hand to bring it nearer to Mick. "Isn't it after saying I am," he said emphatically, "that no other language other than that in common utterance is to be used in this respectable house?" All were excited except the policemen. They were uneasy, but couldn't slink away now without loss of dignity. So they lounged over the counter, trying to look undisturbed, stuck in the middle of the hubbub like a pair of crows among a chattering group of coloured jays. "Look at Tim Healy too," said Mick bitterly, "swearing he'd never desert a chief who'd led Ireland so far forward. And all the time the bantry bowsy itching to make an end of Parnell, even if he had to make an end of Ireland at the same time. Healy's your hero now. Muck Parnell made into a man, a guck in a simple gown, England's foster son. And where's Ireland now? Buried with Parnell deep in Glasnevin Cemetery." "Now let the poor man rest," said a constable. "He's dead, isn't he? So let the poor man rest in peace." "Who's dead? Who's dead?" asked the hurler fiercely, wheeling around to face the constable. "Parnell," said the constable softly. "So let the poor man rest in peace." "You and your like'd like him to be dead," said the hurler furiously. "But Parnell's more alive than ever, and Parnell'll never be in peace till the swarm of traitors that bounded into his death are flung from life, till they're stretched out cold and unremembered by a single soul left to lift a hand for Ireland's freedom." The carman sitting in the corner suddenly jumped up and slid over to where the talk was, wiping the drains of beer from his lips, his green-gone bowler hat balanced on the back of his head, stained clay pipe waving in his hand like a conductor's wand, his dull eyes trying to force a gleam out of them, and the corners of his splay mouth twitching. "It's sick I'm getting," he said, listening to the holies. "If Parnell had loved his country, he'd have known himself he wasn't fit to lead us after he'd committed himself with the harlot Kitty O'Shea. Jesus, ejaculated the hurler with a sound of agony in his voice and a look of agony in his face. Is it listening to an Irishman I am when I hear a thing like that? I told yous before, and I'm telling yous again, said the bartender furiously, that this talk will have to be heard only out of hearing of the decent people who frequent this decent house for entertainment. He shoved his thick gob over the counter, thrusting it sideways and tilting it towards the angry hurler. And furthermore, I'm not going to have any confusion here over Parnell either, for when all's said and done, he's gone. And a good riddance too, bringing disgrace on Ireland's fair and holy name, be committing an immortal sin. Besought with rage, the hurler let fly with his fist, and gave the protruding gob of the bartender a violent blow on the snot, forcing a stream of blood to flow from over his mouth on the front of the once white apron, and causing to sweep down a serene row of newly cleansed glasses with his arm as he staggered back. He slithered to the floor shouting, "Me nose is slitting, me glass is gone, and me only after cleaning them." The constables were afraid of the hurlers, for no one could say, especially a policeman, what a hurler might do with a hurley in his hand, so they turned on the other party very officious and full of the law. "Now," said one of them to Mick and Tom, "you two members of Her Majesty's forces better be getting out of this, do you hear us? We can't have quarrelsomeness coming into the quiet countryside. So gone now, period, before we have to intervene to prevent any further tendency to provoke a breach of the peace. We'll finish our drinks we paid for before we go," said Tom surlily. "The minute they landed in here," said the bartender thickly, through a handkerchief hand to his nose, "they started a row with these decent men here," and he pointed to the hurlers. "They started no row with us," said one of the hurlers. "What we said and they said was said in quietness and calm." "Here now," said the constable, touching Mick on the shoulder, "swally up the remainder of that beer you sit there. Be off, like good men." "Oh, let the men finish their drinks in a decent way," said one of the hurlers. The policeman wheeled around to face the hurler. "It's a dangerous thing for anyone to try to obstruct a constable in the discharge of his duty," he said, warningly. "Did you ever hear the song everyone's singing now?" asked Mick and Tom, with a wink at the hurlers. "No," said Tom. "What song may that be now?" "The Peeler and the Goat," said Mick, mentioning a song of derision that the police hated and dreaded above all others. "If I could remember, I'd sing it for you." "I know it," said Seán, eagerly. "It goes like this. A Banshee peeler went one night on duty on patrol, and oh, he met a goat upon the road, and he took him to be a stroller, oh. With bayonet fixed he sallied forth, and caught her by the wizen, oh. And then he swore a mighty oath, I'll take you off to prison, oh. The hurlers tittered, and the constables flushed. One of them came close to glare at the singing Seán. "What are you doing in a place like this, me old-fashioned, cocky little kidger, with your ears open to catch language that'll knock hell out of all decency in your later life?" "I am here with me own two brothers," said Seán sturdily. "Oh, you are you? Well, it's not in a place like this a lot of yours years ought to be, catching more than a glimpse of things you oughtn't to see. I'm not going to ask your permission to come here anyway," muttered the half-frightened Seán. "Oh, yarden, you. Gah, you cheeky little cur." And the constable swung an arm, bringing his hand to Seán's ear with a box that sent him spinning towards the door, dazed, dumb, bothered. But dazed as he was, Seán saw the lovely sight of Mick sending a short jab to the constable's jaw that tilted up his head with a jerk, and when the poor man's head was well up, a straight left beauty to his chin that sent him in a curling heap to the floor. He saw the other constable putting a hand on his baton, saw Tom taking a hurley from a horror's outstretched hand, saw this constable hesitate when he saw the hurley in Tom's hand, and the light of battle in Mick's eyes. He turned and went to his comrade's aid. The bartender, holding a handkerchief to her nose, filled out a glass of brandy, and the carman stood by to help if help was needed. The horrors made for the door, beckoning Tom and his companions to follow, and all hurried out into the darkening garden. "Let's scatter, lads," said the horror when they reached the road. They heard a long, shrill blast from a whistle, and turning they saw the dark figure of a constable and the light streaming from the open door. "He's blown for the rest of the polis. We'll have to run for it." The car," said Tom. "Let's take it and be off." "We're city men," said a horror, "and don't know how to drive." "Nor we either," said Mick. I can," said Seán eagerly. "I often drove our milkman's jennet, and he's a bit hard to handle." Then they heard an answering whistle from a long distance away. "Up with us," said the horror. They sprang up on the car, Mick and two horrors on one side, Tom and two horrors on the other, Archie in the rear, with his legs dangling down the back of the car, while Seán climbed into the little front seat, gathered the reins and whip in his hand, gave a sharp gee up to the nag, and away they all went at a quiet trot down the road, as the figure of the carman ran out onto the road and began yelling after them. "Hey there!" they heard him cry. "Hey, come back with me car and me mare, you daylight robbers! Hey there, come back!" "Give her a touch of the whip," said Archie. "Ignoramus," panted Seán, "and you seen she's cold from standing so long. Wait till she warms up a bit, and then we can make her go. Gee up, girl. Yep, me lassie." "We're safe when we get away," said a horror. "When the peelers cool down, they'll remember it would be hard to say why they were drinking in patrol. And anyway, whatever the Jarvey may be, you'll find he's no informer." In the distance they heard a few more whistles. Seán caught up the whip and gave the mare a flick or two on the flanks. Away she tore now, hedges flying up like mad things, for the mare was turning along now at a full gallop. "That was a gorgeous clip you gave the bastard on the chin," said a horror to Mick. "It must have given him a new vision of hell open for sinners." Along past numbers of little cottages, the little lights in their little windows flitting by them like falling golden stars. On over the bridge crossing the Tolka, giving a fleeting glimpse of the blue-mantled Virgin standing on a pillar alone among a clump of river-soaked cottages, while the horror sang as well as the rocking gallop of the car going would allow, a song to honour Parnell. "Though enemies may frown on our king without a crown, he done his duty to old Ireland well. Although our leader's dead, his memory lives instead, the late lamented Charles Stuart Parnell." On at a lolloping gallop goes the tidy limb mare. A gallop, couples in each other's arms lying by the roadside or standing silent close to a wall, turning to look at the janting car go racing by, with its red coats and green jerseys arm in arm on the seats, singing their song to honour the great Irish chieftain Parnell. Along the roads, Seán flushed with pride, thinking he was the American mail flying from the Redskins, turning recklessly around corners, the car swaying, the men holding on, stopping their song till the car levelled itself again to go swinging down another road, slowing down a little as they came to near where the gallop was to stop, Seán pulling the mare gradually to a halt before the doorway of the Cross Guns Tavern. He jumped off, gave the mare a swift wipe with his cap, took a rug from the well of the car and flung it over the animal's loins and back, and then tied her to a nearby lamp-post, where a horror said the carman would find her sooner or later. scatter, lads, said a hurler. And he and his comrades raised their hurleys high over their heads. Hurrah, hurrah for Parnell, they shouted. Hurrah for Ireland too, shouted the excited Tom. And Ireland too, shouted the hurlers. Seán felt that he had done a good day's work. And then he remembered he had left behind him on the counter the lovely bunch of crimson and golden berries plucked for his mother, and his heart felt a little sad again.